Kiwiwhispers who want to make a video like this about their country. That'd be fantastic. We could have like a cute little set. But anyway, okay. The name England is, it comes from the Old English name, which is Ingaland, which literally means land of the Angles, meaning the Anglo-Saxons. So I'm guessing it was Anglo-land, England, which makes sense. The Angles, they came from the Anglian Peninsula in the Baltic, from the Baltic Sea area and the Bay of Kiel. And according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the first known use of England was used in 897 AD, and the modern spelling England was first used in 1538. The national anthem of England, and I think this is the UK as a whole, but I could be wrong, is God Save the Queen. The first verse is God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, God save the Queen, send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us, God save the Queen. The flag, obviously we have the Union flag. Some people call it the Union Jack, but I think it's only called the Union Jack when it's flown at sea, but that's kind of an old tradition. The Union flag is made up of the Cross of St Andrew, which is Scotland, and that is the diagonal white cross with the blue background, which is, that's the flag of Scotland. The Cross of St Patrick, which is the diagonal red cross with the white background, which is the old Irish flag. And that's the Cross of St Patrick, and the Cross of St George, which is the flag of England, which is the vertical horizontal red cross with the white background. Other countries that have the Union Jack on, some of them are old colonies of the British Empire. Countries include New Zealand, which is the Union Jack on the top left with a blue background and 4 stars, for example. The flag of Australia, the flag of Hawaii, the flag of Tuvalu, the flag of Fiji, the flag of Bermuda, British Columbia, Taunton, Massachusetts, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Canadian Red Ensign, South Africa, and the flag of Hong Kong. I don't know whether this is just the TV exaggerating, but to me the USA is really big on the flag of America, when I wouldn't say we're not bothered, but we're just it's not, we're not as that exaggerated on it, if you get what I mean. I'm trying to say this without insulting my own country. Okay, I'll stop talking and move on. Okay, there are quite a lot of accents across England. I mean, there's a Scottish accent, Welsh accent, Irish accent, Northern Irish, but in England there are, I don't know whether people from abroad can tell the difference between them, but there's quite a lot. There's the Geordie accent, which is Newcastle. To me that sounds quite similar to the Scottish accent, because it is quite up north. There's the Liverpudlian accent from Liverpool, Brummie accent, Birmingham, Yorkshire accent. I have a Yorkshire accent, I live in Yorkshire. Cornish accent, Cockney accent, capital of the UK is London, except we all have our own capitals. England is London, Scotland is Edinburgh, Wales is Cardiff, Northern Ireland is Belfast. There are a total of 50 cities in England, 5 cities in Northern Ireland, 6 in Scotland, and 5 in Wales. And I think this is the UK as a whole. Has a population of about 51 million, which is quite a lot when you think about it. Okay, our currency is pound sterling, which is abbreviated to GBP, or the Great British Pound, which is also nicknamed the quid, like 5 quid, 2 quid, 3 quid, etc. Just like the dollar is split into 100 cents, the pound is split into 100 pence, or p. I think, off the top of my head, I think £1 is about 1.6 US dollars, and I think that's about 1.2 euros, but I could be wrong. So I think a pound is worth more than a US dollar. I know in America they have like $1 notes, and they have all sorts of nicknames like nickel and a buck and that. I don't know what a nickel is, but it's pretty simple. 1p, 2p, 5p, 10p, 20p, 50p, a pound coin, a £2 coin, and then a £5 note, £10 note, £20 note, £50 note. That's it. Although I've never seen a £50 note, unless you actually have that kind of money. They're quite rare, in my opinion. Faces, I think on the £5 note is Elizabeth Fry, who was a prison reformer. On the £10 note, I believe it is the £10 note has Charles Darwin, has a picture of Charles Darwin on, and Hummingbird, and the HMS Beagle. The £20 note has Adam Smith on, who I believe was an 18th century economist, and the £50 note has John Hublon with a picture of his house in Threadneedle Street, and he was the first governor of the Bank of England in the 17th century. Okay, I found this quite interesting. Old British money, and this only dissolved around 1971, which is quite recent. So prior to 1971, a pound was divided into 20 shillings. So I'll take it that each shilling was about 5p in modern currency. Each shilling was divided into 12 pennies, and so that's 240 pennies in £1. A shilling is also called a bob in slang. A guinea is 21 shillings, or £1 1 shilling, or 252 pence. A crown is 5 shillings. A half crown is 2 shillings and 6 pence. So that is pretty complicated. I'm quite glad we don't have that nowadays. Right, that's currency in a nutshell. Right, I'll move on to, I'm just going to do a very, very quick recap of major British history. I'm quite proud of my country. Our history is really interesting, because there's so much of it. I mean, no offense to Americans, but I mean, it's a couple hundred years and boom, you're done. Whereas England, there's like thousands of years of of history, and it's all really interesting. So first was the Anglo-Saxon period, which was from 927 until 1066, which was the Battle of Hastings, I believe, was in 1066. The Norman period then was from 1066 until 1154. The Tudor period was from 1485 until 1603. The Elizabethan era was from 1555 until 1603. That was the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. The Stuart period was from 1603 to 1714. And then I'll just zoom right down to the Victorian era, which was from 1837 to 1901. And then the Edwardian era was from 1901 to 1910. And then after that, that was kind of the King's Speech era, until Queen Elizabeth II, the current queen, was coronated in 1953, I think. Major historic events that we learn about in school includes the Black Death, which was one of the most devastating pandemics in our history, in Europe and Asian history, and it peaked in Europe between 1347 and 1350, and it killed around 30 to 60% of Europe's population. That's a hell of a lot of people, and in total it reduced the world's population from 450 million to 350 million in 1400. That's a lot of people. It came to England in about 1348, and it killed up to half of England's population. People think that the Black Death originated because of a parasite or a bacteria or a virus that was in fleas, which obviously fleas lived on rats, and it was the rats that brought them in with the fleas. That's how they spread. There's a little village in, I think it's in either the Peak District or the Yorkshire Moors that I've actually been to. It's called Eam, and that's famous for when the Black Death was at its worst. It actually quarantined the village. Nobody was allowed to leave, and nobody was allowed to go into the village. And we did a bit about that. I remember doing a bit about that in junior school too. The War of the Roses happened in 1455 to 1485, and that was a civil war between the House of Lancaster, which was the Red Rose, and the House of York, which was the White Rose, and they fought for the throne. The final victory went to the Lancastrian claimant Henry Tudor, and he was King Henry VII. And that moves me on to probably one of our most famous monarchs, Henry VIII. He ruled from 1509 until he died in 1547, and he was the second monarch of the House of Tudor, after Henry VII, his father. And he is remembered for two things, and we did Henry VIII basically every year in school up until about year 9. And he is remembered for his 6 wives, who were Catherine of Aragon, who he divorced, Anne Boleyn, who he divorced and beheaded, Jane Seymour, who died possibly due to childbirth, Anne of Cleves, who he divorced, Catherine Howard, who he beheaded, and Catherine Parr, who survived. And we remember that by divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived, because she died after Henry VIII died. Of his 6 wives, he had 3 children. Catherine of Aragon gave him Queen Mary I, or Mary Queen of Scots. Anne Boleyn symbolize the dissolution of the monasteries, which is why there are so many abbeys across England. That was Henry VIII's fault, and he established himself as the supreme head of the Church of England. So that's Henry VIII. And then, so that was the 16th century. If you zoom forward, this is what we learn about, like, for GCSE and A-level history, is the World Wars, which obviously played a huge role in our history. There was World War One, obviously, 1914 to 1918. Serbian shot the Austrian Archduke, and like a land of dominoes falling, Russia was brought in to back Serbia, Germany was brought in to back Austria, Austria and Germany attacked Belgium, so Britain was brought in to defend Belgium. Then France was brought in to defend Britain and Belgium. Italy was brought in to defend Germany and Austria, etc. But yeah, we won, and that led to the Treaty of Versailles, which basically crippled Germany at that time. Germany was forced to take the blame, even though it was technically Austria's fault. And this eventually led to World War II, thanks to a little man we all know as Adolf Hitler. He led the Nazi Party, which they despised the Treaty of Versailles. They wanted to build Germany up to be a strong power again, a strong European power. And when they attacked Poland in 1939, this brought Britain into the war. It was mainly a war between Britain and Germany. But again, we won. And that is why right now I am not speaking German. So that was it. Also, another important part of our history, I think, and I did about a few years ago in history, was the sinking of the Titanic, which was kind of a turning point in safety laws aboard British cruise liners, and I think that might have been worldwide too. Like, there are a few reasons why it sank. There weren't enough lifeboats on board. The rudder on the Titanic was too small for a ship of that size, which is why it failed to turn in time. There was actually a ship nearby when the Titanic was shooting flares into the sky. They were shooting white flares, but because there were no strict laws, the ship ignored it because they thought the flares were just fireworks. They thought they were just celebrating. And so now there are laws against what flares to use when you're in trouble, etc. And also, I believe the Titanic was the sinking which brought about the SOS Morse code signal, cry for help. So now there are more strict laws. And I forgot to mention it was Henry VIII who oversaw the legal union of England and Wales, which took place between 1535 and 1542. And then in 1603, when Queen Elizabeth I died, she arranged for the House of Stuart to succeed her because she had no children, and this led to the union of England and Scotland, and that's how we came about, the UK. Another thing I should clear up too, the full name is the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland, and Northern Ireland. Great Britain is England, Scotland and Wales. The UK is England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. There you go. Okay, so that is British history. I did all that off the top of my head as well. I should just note, all I've got written down here is World War One, World War Two, Titanic, weeks into summer, and it did get pretty hot the other day. It was absolutely roasting actually, so it can get pretty hot, whereas back in January we had one of the worst snowstorms in at least 30 years. We had about a foot of snow. It was that much. This varies all over the UK. I mean, London down south can get loads of snow, and so can the Shetland Islands way up north in Scotland, so it varies a lot, but I think it's due to the Gulf Stream. That's what keeps England fairly warm. If it wasn't for the Gulf Stream, we would have a more cold climate like Canada or Russia, because we are on the same line of latitude as Russia and Canada. But thanks to the Gulf Stream, it's fairly warm here. We don't have much extreme weather. We are fairly boring when it comes to extreme weather. We don't have any tornadoes or hurricanes or earthquakes or volcanic eruptions or thunderstorms. I mean, our thunderstorm is one roll of thunder, 2 flashes of lightning, and then that's it. I think the last drought we had was in 2003. Although we're going through a pretty mini heat wave at the moment. It's pretty warm outside, and it's not rained for about a week now. And actually on that note, a few weeks ago, a drought was declared in southern areas such as Suffolk and Cornwall. 2007 saw the worst floods in 20 years. It flooded where I am, although my house didn't flood because I live on a bit of a hill. But it rained. There was about, I think it was 3 months of rain fell in 24 hours in areas of South Yorkshire. The rivers Rother and Don rose their banks and broke their banks and flooded. I've seen pictures where the waterline is about waist deep in some areas, and I remember we had the day of school because of that. But like I said, we live on a hill, and we don't live near a river, so we were pretty safe. But lots of people's homes got flooded, and many people were made homeless, and they were living in caravans for at least a year or more. 1987 was famous for the hurricane storm, although by technical means it wasn't a hurricane. It wasn't strong enough to be a hurricane, but there was a weatherman called Michael Fish. My friend actually bought me a mug for Christmas with Michael Fish's picture on it. But he was famous for saying, "There is no hurricane. It will blow over to France. There is no hurricane. Everybody's safe." When in fact there was. It was a very, very strong storm. I wouldn't know obviously because I wasn't alive. That was 5 years before my time. But it was pretty strong. I've seen pictures and it was like a proper hurricane. Even though it technically wasn't. And I think quite a few people died from that. That was the last strong storm we had. Okay. Our landscape. We have 15 national parks in Britain. The Peak District is the oldest, I think. I live near the Peak District. If you look at my video, I can't remember which number it is. The Great Outdoors. That is the Peak District. And that's near a place called Stanage. But the Peak District is the oldest. I live about half an hour away from the Peak District. And the Lake District is the largest, which is in the northwest, in Cumbria. Also, if you go to the Whispering Voices channel and look at his, he's got a beautiful video of Snowdonia where he lives. I really enjoyed that. Snowdonia is one of my favourite places in the UK. So go check that out. All the biggest hills in Britain are in Scotland, but the tallest hill in Scotland is called Ben Nevis. The tallest hill in Wales is Mount Snowdon, and the biggest hill in England is Scafell Pike. I've climbed all three. It's very green here. There's no sandy deserts or rainforests. It's just woods and forest and grass and fields and cows. I think you can go anywhere in the UK and you're not more than a few miles away from a village. So it's not that hard to get lost here. Okay. Our sports. I know America is very big on baseball and basketball and American football and soccer. At least I think they are. That's what I've taken from films I've seen. They're quite big on baseball. But over here we don't play professional baseball or basketball at all. At least I don't think we do. Our main sports are football, rugby, golf, cricket, tennis, probably. We've just finished the Wimbledon Tennis Championship tournament. Andy Murray is our main man, but he got knocked out in the semi-finals by Rafael Nadal in Spain. It was the finals yesterday, but I don't know who won, so I'll check that out. But yeah, our main sport is probably football. I'm not big on football though, so I hate football actually. Okay, how peculiar. There's nothing in Wimbledon here. Oh. Sorry, I just saw something about J.K. Rowling. I'll read that after I finish this. Okay, it's a Russian name, but I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it. Wimbledon champion Novak Djokovic. Yeah, Djokovic. I have pronounced that wrong. He beat Rafael Nadal, who won last year. But anyway, I'm sure you're not listening to this for sport. Our education system is like in America. I'm sorry I keep comparing England to America. Forgive me, I'm really quite interested in different cultures and stuff like that, so I'm sorry. But I know in America you have is it elementary school, then middle school, then high school. But I don't know much about that. But over here, you start school in reception. I'm not sure how old you are then. Then you go into year 1 and year 2, and that's infant school. Then you go up to junior school, and you start junior school in year 3 when you are 8, I believe. 8, year 4, year 5, year 6. Year 6 is the end of junior school. You start secondary school or high school when you are age 12, and that is year 7. I think in American terms, I think year 7 is 6th grade. I think year 7 is 6th grade. Year 7, year 8, year 9, year 10, year 11. Right, when you get to year 11, you're 16, you can either leave school or carry on to 6th form. 6th form is optional at the moment, but they are making it compulsory. In 2014, I think. university.